Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to my Week 9 NFL recap. I'm Mason Speski, your host here, and you could probably tell we're in a different location than where we typically are. The reason being is it's starting to get cold here in western Pennsylvania, and right now it's 60 degrees out, so this is one of the truly last nice days of this season here in western PA. So I figured we would escape the inside and do an episode outside one last time before it gets cold and we're pretty much forced to go inside. So I'm bringing you live here today outside. So it's definitely nice to see you guys. And no, I'm not in the woods. There's just a bunch of trees here and my water surprisingly sitting back there. So yeah, sorry I have to look down and sorry if I'm not looking at the camera in the best regards, but it's just the nature of it. It's definitely much easier to film inside than outside, but I figured we'd come outside today and do so, especially since the weather is starting to cool down. Take advantage of it while it lasts, because this weekend here, it's supposed to get back down into the 40s. So in December, January, February aren't far off. So yeah, it will definitely be a while before we're back outside here. So figure take advantage of it while it's nice out and truly enjoy this beautiful weather and this beautiful breeze, because I love it. I just love it when you step outside. Like, I remember in February of this past year, it was like 62 degrees. Walking outside of school, oh my gosh, it felt so amazing to just step outside when it was warm. It feels so amazing after escaping the cold somewhat for a warm day. It feels great. So, and I felt that same way stepping outside again today. So figured why not do a show out here before the weather starts to cool down. Anyway, though, now we're going to start off with our NFL predictions with a team that has cooled down, it appears, and that is the Miami Dolphins. They lost on Sunday by a final score of 21-14 to the Kansas City Chiefs over in Germany. So this was definitely interesting. I was disappointed because I expected way more offense than there actually was in this game. So definitely a disappointing thing that there was very minimal offense in this game. So I was definitely hoping that there would be more offense. So yeah, that's my only disappointment about that game. Kansas City proved they're a very good football team and they're going to be ready to compete. They're now 7-2. Good start for the Chiefs, and it gets tougher from here because they have a bye week though this week, but after the bye they got Philly at home, who's very good. Then they have to go out to Vegas to play the Raiders. Then they go to Green Bay to play the Packers. Those are two easy games. Those definitely should be wins for them. But then they come home to play Buffalo. I know Buffalo's not that good this year, but Buffalo does have their number in Arrowhead. They've won 2 of the past 3 meetings in there, so don't be surprised with an upset in that game. Buffalo will likely be fighting for their playoff lives. We'll get to them later in the show, but yeah, that'll definitely be interesting. I mean, Chiefs should easily be able to get, I'd say, 12-5, 13-4 this year, but this was a big win for sure for them. Great win for Andy Reid, and gives them momentum going into the bye week, and they needed a win like this to keep pace with another AFC team that's dominant, who we'll get to here shortly. So, big win for the Chiefs. Vikings defeating the Falcons 31-28 in Atlanta. Couple key takeaways from this one. First off, we're going to start with Josh Dobbs. It was awesome to see Josh Dobbs have the kind of day that he had in this game. So it was amazing for Josh Dobbs to do good, obviously, as I just said. But here's what I got to take away from. Josh Dobbs obviously did not do good last year in Tennessee. Choked away that division game to Jacksonville. Josh Dobbs did not have a great year in Arizona. In fact, he got benched for somebody who did worse than him. We'll get to that in a couple minutes. Josh Dobbs gets traded to Minnesota. Doesn't get a single practice rep. Plays amazing. That tells me one thing. And the fact that the Vikings are 1-4, or started 1-4 and are now 5-4, tells me something. Kevin O'Connell is an amazing, amazing head coach. He immediately has to be considered for a top 10 as a top 10 head coach in this league, or at least up there. Why I say this? A quarterback that's a journeyman and hasn't done much, doesn't get a single practice rep, barely knows the playbook, and goes off and has the kind of game Kevin O'Connell or Josh Dobbs did, that tells you something about the head coach. That tells you that this head coach is truly amazing. Look at what he has done. So I give Kevin O'Connell a lot of credit for this win. So obviously, yeah, Josh Dobbs did play great. He had an amazing day, but Kevin O'Connell's the reason this is all happening, I believe. Vikings got themselves a good GM, and they got themselves a good head coach. So good job, Kwesi. Good job, Kevin. On to the Falcons now. This team is better than its record indicates roster-wise. Two things. Number one, they need a quarterback, obviously. And number two, they need to run the ball more with Bijan Robinson. He has done horrible for me in fantasy the past couple of weeks. So why would you not look at the quarterbacks available to you. Levis. You could have drafted Will Levis, 8th overall. Instead, you choose to pick a running back that you're barely using. And again, I'm not doubting the pick. On my draft spreadsheet, I would have taken Christian Gonzalez if I was in the Falcons' shoes, and that probably wouldn't have been a bad pick based on how they're doing secondary-wise. So, this team needs quarterback help. It's not going to be Caleb Williams. They're too talented of a roster to get Caleb Williams, but bottom line is that they need a solution at quarterback, and they need to run Bijan Robinson more. So, crazy times in Atlanta, so keep an eye out on that. At least they're competitive, more so this year than years past. On to this next one now. The Ravens demolished the Seahawks by a final score of 37-3 in Baltimore. This Baltimore Ravens team's the real deal. They are amazing. Lamar Jackson is the real deal at quarterback. They're playing out of their minds right now. I can't believe this team lost to the Colts. I cannot believe this team lost to the Indianapolis Colts. That's all. And not that the Colts are a bad team. We'll get to them later. Not that the Colts are a bad team, but the Ravens are just that good. The defense is playing amazing. The offense is playing amazing. This team right now is truly the best team in the AFC, I think. It's going to be hard for anybody to catch them the rest of this year. Obviously, the schedule gets a little challenging. They have Cleveland and Cincy coming up. Then they head out to LA to take on the Chargers. And then I think there's a bye after that. Then it gets real, I think, for Baltimore. Oh, no, it doesn't. The Rams. Yeah, this Baltimore schedule is so easy. I mean, they should be able to coast at this point. So I think the Ravens are the real deal, and they're going to continue to dominate. So, yeah. As for the Seahawks, I mean, they're a talented team. We all knew that they're a talented team. This Baltimore team they're phenomenal. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. This Baltimore team is phenomenal. So that's all I have to say. Great win for the Ravens. Seattle, it's one bad loss, and you'll be able to get back easy next week when you play the Commanders. Other AFC North team hosting an AFC West team, the Cleveland Browns defeating the Arizona Cardinals 27-0 in Cleveland. Couple takeaways I had from this one. The Cleveland defense is amazing. Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Denzel Ward, Jim Schwartz leading it all. This defense is amazing. Definitely a great move to fire Joe Woods, hire Jim Schwartz. New Orleans' defense is doing good too, it looks like. So that move definitely worked out in the best interest for both of the teams. So great job there for both teams. Everything happens for a reason, obviously, and this worked out for the best for both teams. So congratulations to Cleveland and New Orleans. Great win for them. The offense looks good. All the phases are coming together. Cleveland is 5-3 right now, and they're looking real good. And they are a potential playoff team for the first time in a couple of years. So maybe Cleveland is the real deal this year. As for the Cardinals, their luck is starting to run out. Obviously, earlier in the year, they looked really strong, really competitive. They were a competitor in almost every game they played. Heck, they even beat Dallas. So definitely a competitive team. However, it's just falling apart. That roster is not talented. I still do think it's a better roster than the 2021 Lions, so this team can compete here relatively quick. At this point, it's just a matter of getting a high draft pick, enough that they can possibly get Caleb Williams or even trade out of that slot and get extra draft capital for the rebuild. Definitely going to come down to see what Kyler Murray has here. He's coming back this week. Definitely going to be interesting to see what he has in store for the second half of this season, Kyler Murray. And if the team gets hot, it's definitely going to be a big deal for the Cardinals. So now if you're going to tank and you don't do good, now's the time to evaluate Kyler Murray, see how he does, and if you get that number 1 overall pick, then if he does good or you're happy with what you see, then trade the pick and keep him and get more draft capital. If you don't like what you see out of Kyler Murray, if he's not going to be the answer for Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort, you need to trade him to somebody else. I know Minnesota might need a quarterback. New England definitely does. If Miami continues to not be the best, maybe Stephen Ross and Chris Greer will want to get Kyler in there and part ways with Tua. But I think Kyler Murray, if he's not the guy there, then they need to tank and draft Caleb. So that's all I have to say about the Cardinals. Rams got defeated by the Packers 20-3 in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Sunday. The Packers looked really good. This is not a very good team. It just shows you how much these two teams over the past 2 years have declined. In 2020 and 2021, they were like the teams in the NFC and throughout the league who everybody did not want to play against. They were the special ones, and it was all about them. Now it's the complete opposite. Rams are 3-6. Packers are 3-5. So this was such a boring matchup. I like what the Packers are doing with Love and the young guys for sure, but they're just a little ways away. So definitely going to be a couple years up there in Green Bay. As for the Rams, they just need to embrace the rebuild at this point. I thought they'd be better than expected. I was wrong, so it's time to move on, and it's time to embrace a culture change in LA. They went all in. They got the one Super Bowl title they wanted, and now it's over, so it's time to rebuild now for them. Alrighty, now on to what I thought was one of the best games, if not the best game of the week. The Houston Texans defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 39-37 on Sunday. Couple takeaways from this one. Number 1, C.J. Stroud is him. He is the real deal. I was so wrong on him, evaluating him, scouting him. I thought he was going to do terrible in the NFL. He proved me so wrong. So yeah, great day for C.J. Stroud. Super happy to see him go off, have the day he had. I was not, though, happy with myself because I benched Tank Dell in my fantasy league. I mean, I still won my fantasy league, which was nice, but I benched Tank Dell, so could have won by more, but I put Puka in instead of him. Could have won by 16 more points, or 20-some more points, but it is what it is. Got the dub. That's all that matters. So C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell, they're going to be around in this NFL for a long, long time. So, yeah, I really like what DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Slovic have done in H-Town, so good times for the Texans. That's for sure. As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, definitely rough times. They started 3-1. They looked so good. Now they're 3-5. Season might be over for them at this point. I think it's time to tank for a top QB in this draft and embrace the rebuild. So yeah. But this was a thrilling game for sure. This was a thrilling game. Now into the game I watched for most of Sunday. I actually didn't watch much of the Seahawks-Ravens game, and I was probably glad I didn't watch much of the Seahawks-Ravens game because it was a blowout and I was not happy with the outcome. But the game I did watch was this one. The Commanders defeated the New England Patriots 20-17 on Sunday in Foxborough. A couple takeaways from this one. The Commanders aren't very good. I mean, they obviously won the game. They're sitting pretty at 4-5. But they are a team I think that's way worse than their record indicates. They're not a very good team at all. They need to rebuild. They need to start over. So, yeah, I wonder if Sam Howell's the long-term answer there. He did not look bad on Sunday, but he certainly did not look great. So, yeah, I mean, I was not particularly impressed with the Commanders, but it was nice to see them get the win. So, good job to the Commanders for sure. Brian Robinson Jr. is the real deal, though. He's very good at his job, very good running back. Eric Bieniemy is very good at his play calling stuff, so good job for Bieniemy. Really nice job for Brian Robinson Jr. And yeah, I mean, they definitely need to get him and Terry McLaurin involved more in DC, so that'll be interesting. Hang on. Now on to the Patriots here, who lost. They're now an AFC worst 2-7. If the season ended today, they are supposed to pick in the top 5 of the 2024 NFL Draft. So things are rough in Foxborough. Obviously, the Raiders just fired Josh McDaniels. So if they hire him, things may get a little better. However, I don't expect them to get better anytime soon. I actually expect the Patriots. I was going to pick the Patriots all along against the Colts. I don't know who I'm going to pick in that game now. Hang on. Sorry about that. But I don't know who I'm going to pick in that game now because New England's just, they didn't look that bad early, but throughout the game at times they looked awful. Mac Jones is pathetic. He is not going to be the quarterback of the future. He will not be the Patriots quarterback next year. I think they're going to draft somebody else to be that quarterback next year, whether it be them. Possibly, I heard rumors that, or a mock draft I heard put out there, Brock Bowers from Georgia. This will be another good pick for New England, and possibly delay the quarterback. But I think they need to rebuild this team. And I don't think that rebuild should include Bill Belichick. I mean, he obviously was one of the best head coaches in the NFL, but I don't think Bill Belichick is going to be the head coach there much longer. I think he's going to retire or get traded somewhere else. So I think it's time to start over in New England, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long road ahead for them. They got lucky with Tom Brady. Tom Brady made New England who New England is known as today, but they are certainly not the same team. I mean, look at the receivers they have. Kendrick Bourne was their star, but he's out for the year now, unfortunately. Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Devontae Parker, who's hurt, I think, and Juju Smith-Schuster. There is literally no receiver talent on this team, and these are the consequences that the Patriots are suffering because they did not draft a receiver. Think about it. I mean, I remember the whole draft. I was saying I would pick Ronnie Bell. New England passed on him like every opportunity for like some guard or something. And I remember I was talking to a colleague of mine one day at my summer job about the way the Patriots scout because he was involved in football. And he told me about the particular talents and stuff, and it seems all good. And then we talked about and one of the other things we talked about too was an article I read about the New England Patriots, and I'm going to discuss this article with you because I think it's very important. One of the Belichick method of scouting, because he's the GM, he's the de facto GM, he makes all the draft picks, he's in charge of the team, but he says, in order to scout your player, in order to scout draft prospects, meaning college prospects coming up to the draft, you need to be able to properly scout your own team. I 100% agree with that philosophy that Belichick took. He must not, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, so I hate to bash him. But I don't know how he's scouting his team because some of these draft prospects he's picking are not very good. And how does he not know that the Patriots need receivers? I mean, obviously there's been dysfunction with that offense now for several years. I mean, you go from Josh McDaniels in 2021, who takes a rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, to the NFL playoffs. McDaniels leaves for Vegas. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are calling plays. That's dysfunctional part number one. And that's partly what contradicts the philosophy. You need to be able to properly scout your own team. Do you really think Matt Patricia and Joe Judge would want to properly scout that team? I'm sorry, I used incorrectly. I know they would want to, but do you think they would really know the ins and outs? They've never really coached offenses before. One was a defensive-minded guy who was the head coach of the Detroit Lions, who was pathetic. And the other one was a special teams-minded guy who was the head coach of the New York Giants, who was even more pathetic. So I don't know what the deal is. And now you brought in Bill O'Brien, who's a rookie offensive coordinator with the Patriots. Well, I wouldn't say rookie, but it's his first year back with New England. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I think I'd have to imagine you probably need stability at this point and consistency. But the question is now, Do you waive Mac Jones? Do you fire Bill O'Brien, hire Josh McDaniels and draft a quarterback, which is personally what I would do? Or do you just keep riding this out and keep doing what you're doing? This team is bottom line is this. My point is, this team has a long road ahead of them. And the AFC East should take advantage while it lasts, because the Patriots dynasty is clearly over. Now it's time to rebuild. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Foxborough. That's for sure. Saints beat the Bears 24-17. Couple key takeaways from this one in New Orleans. The NFC South is not very good. We obviously knew this coming into the season. But the fact that the New Orleans Saints beat a 2-7 Chicago Bears team by only one touchdown on their home field, that's not very good. That is not very good. I have never been a fan of the Saints team. Well, the new version of it. I liked it under Sean Payton and Drew Brees. But I am not a fan of what's going on now in New Orleans. I mean, they might be 5-4. They might win this division, but they're certainly nothing special. And they're going to be a one-and-done team in the playoffs, if they even make it, I think. So, good luck with the Saints. As for Chicago, embrace the tank. Carolina's going to draft high. You're going to draft high. Get 2 quality prospects and start this rebuild. Because you guys have it all. You guys might do what Houston did this coming year. So get ready, because it's going to be good in Chicago. Just cheer against the Panthers. Cheer against your team for now, because it's going to be very rewarding in the long run. So, yeah. Now we're going to move on to the team that traded their first-round draft pick for 2024 to the Chicago Bears, and that's the Carolina Panthers, who took a loss 27-13 at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts Sunday at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. A couple of takeaways from this. Bryce Young is not very good. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, he's a rookie. Obviously, he's going to have growing pains. But look at C.J. Stroud. Look at what Anthony Richardson did earlier in the year. Look at Will Levis. They are all three have shown potential of being better than Bryce Young. I would have picked Bryce Young 1-1 too. But I was a huge Levis fan. Sorry to burp just there. As well. So, I don't know. Young was the safe pick, for sure. But Stroud has impressed. But again, if you trade them, if Stroud would have went to Carolina, Young would have went to Houston, Young might have been the real deal. It all depends on your system. That Kyle Shanahan system is being implemented right now in Houston with Bobby Slovic. And Thomas Brown is a good offensive coordinator. He obviously has staged Sean McVay. But what's going wrong here for Bryce Young? That's something that Frank Reich, Scott Fitterer, if he's still the GM of that team, Thomas Brown, and David Tepper need to all sit down and look at this offseason. What went wrong with Bryce Young in year 1, and how do we improve this for year 2? Because he is our franchise quarterback. Whether we like it or not, we are stuck with him. It's bad in Carolina. I'll just put it that. As for the Colts, things might be okay. They're going to they may beat the Patriots this week, so it'll be interesting for sure. If they win that game, 5-5 is really good for this team going into the bye, and they're still technically in the playoff race, believe it or not. So don't be surprised if they get hot in the second half and get on the playoff run. So, yeah. Raiders defeating the Giants 30-6 at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas for the first game following the firing of Josh McDaniels as head coach, Mick Lombardi as OC, and Dave Ziegler's GM, and they also benched quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo for Aiden O'Connell. This Raiders team, obviously a lot of you guys have probably saw the cigar-smoking celebration from the locker room on Sunday. This is a whole different Raiders team. They obviously did not like Josh McDaniels. That obviously tells you something about Josh McDaniels. That obviously tells you something about the Patriot way. That obviously tells you something about Bill Belichick. It shows you that this era of the Patriots is done, and they need to start over in New England, just like they did in Las Vegas as well. So it is certainly not looking good right now for the Patriots because the Raiders won. That's for sure. But let's talk about this game some. Okay? The Raiders are good. They have more talent than people think they do. And that proved. That really did prove in this game. Raiders looked fabulous. And they showed it. As for the Giants, not very good. Obviously, Daniel Jones is out for the year, but why would Joe Stone give him that big extension? He had one good year last year, so I don't know. I just don't know. Interesting times. That's for sure, but God bless the Giants for sure. It's a rough year for them, and they'll be back soon enough. This one was another great game this week. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys by a final score of 28-23 at the Link in Philly on Sunday. A couple quick things. Number one, this is a sign of concern for Philly. They may be 8-1. They're 2.5 up on the division. But here's the deal. You barely beat Dallas at home. That tells me something. The record may not indicate it, but Dallas may be a better team right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas will not win the NFC East. Philly will. But this Philly team may not be better than this Dallas team. If you put those same teams at a neutral site, say you play them in Minneapolis, US Bank Stadium on a random day, neutral site, split 50-50. And this game is played the exact same way, I bet you Dallas wins this game. Dallas right now probably is the better team. Philly just won because it's a home game for them. This Philly team is really good. In fact, I do truly believe, and the record shows, this is the best team in the NFL. And that's a lot of Howie Roseman, what he did. But Dallas is really good. Dallas is really good. Mike McCarthy's good. The new offense is good. So I give them credit. So, if anybody, I think, though, Dallas might be a dominant team. So, credit to Philly. I'll give credit to where credit is due. And that's Philly's really good. They played a really good game. And they beat a really good football team. However, I think Dallas is probably right now the better team. They played Philly well in Philly. So, keep an eye out for Dallas. I was greatly impressed by them. So, good job to both teams. On Sunday Night Football, first game back in Cincy for Damar Hamlin and the Bills since that unfortunate cardiac arrest that occurred. So, you got continued prayers for him. He did he started scholarships in the name of the 10 people who saved him that night. So that's amazing. Good job for them. Good job for everybody there. And hopefully those scholarships go to some great people so they could get great educations at some Cincinnati schools. So it was amazing to get to see that. But anyway, though, the Bengals defeated the Bills. Cincinnati's the real deal. Buffalo is terrible this year. I mean, I wouldn't say terrible, but they're terrible compared to their expectations. Not very good right now in Buffalo. Definitely disappointing for sure. I picked them to go 15-2. They are sitting right now at 5-4. Worst record prediction ever by me. So this Buffalo team has really disappointed me this year. What's next for them? I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, to be honest with you. It'll be close, but I think they'll be on the outside looking in. And obviously Josh Allen's really good, but who knows? Cincinnati, this is an ultra-competitive AFC North. That's for sure. Everybody's at 5-3 right now except Baltimore, who's 7-2. 2 games ahead of everybody else, so... I'm sorry, not 5-4, 5-3. 5-3. I take that back. 5-3. I'm sorry. So definitely something to keep an eye out of. This division's wide open right now. It's only going to get tougher from here on out. So definitely good times in the AFC North, that's for sure. The question is who will make it and who will break it in that division. But Cincinnati's definitely heating up at the right time. Don't be shocked. I'm just saying right now, do not be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals are the AFC North champions. There's definitely losable games for the Baltimore Ravens on this schedule. Obviously, Baltimore is definitely the favorite to win the division. But let's look at the Ravens' schedule. We know the Bengals are hot. I think they'll be 12-5 to finish the year, which is amazing. Sorry, to wipe something on my computer. Sorry, I'm yawning and I had to wipe something off my computer, which is not pretty. But let's look at the Ravens' schedule. I'm pulling it up right now. Cleveland on Sunday. Cincy Thursday night at the Chargers. Bye. LA Rams at the Jaguars. At the 49ers. Miami Dolphins at home. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Ravens might just eke out this division barely. But do not be surprised by any means if the Bengals win it. They're on the right track. This is definitely a playoff team this year. So yeah. And who knows? Maybe Joe Burrow is in the running for MVP. Let's look up the betting odds right now for NFL MVP. He was my prediction at the beginning of the year. Patrick Mahomes is leading the MVP betting odds. He's just a give me to get this every year. Like, what about Lamar? What about Jalen Hurts? Mahomes is number 1. Number 2 is Jalen. 3rd is Lamar. 4th is Tua, who's not going to get it. 5th is Joe Burrow, who I think might get it still. So the other one I was looking at is Defensive Player of the Year. I predicted Micah Parsons from Dallas to win that. Let's look up those odds. I just want to see, I don't bet, I just want to see who the odds-on favorites are. Parsons currently, it looks like, has the best odds. It appears. Parsons, Garrett, and TJ Watt. So yeah, definitely interesting for sure. So that's great. Hopefully TJ can pass them both though. So those picks aren't looking too bad by me, but the Bengals are looking good for sure. In the Super Bowl this year, I predicted Eagles over Bengals. Doesn't look like a bad pick. Anyway, though, now Chargers defeated the Jets. This was a terrible pick by me. I picked the Jets. Chargers defeating the Jets 27-6 in East Rutherford last night. I watched none of this game. And thank goodness I didn't watch any of this game because both these teams are awful. They're both 4-4. None of them probably are going to the playoffs. I thought the Jets had a good chance to make the playoffs. Now I don't. This is such a week-to-week league. And I mean, I think both these teams will miss the playoffs. This is probably a good thing the Chargers won at this point, so yeah. Anyway, though, before we go, since I do still have a little more time. Sure, busy day today for me. Let's look at the current playoff picture while we're at it here. We're going to start doing these probably more frequently since we're coming into the second half of the year now. So, yeah. If things ended today, the playoff matchups would be in the AFC, 5th seeded Pittsburgh at 4th seeded Miami, 6th seeded Cleveland at 3rd seed Jacksonville, 7th seeded Cincinnati at 2 seed Baltimore. So, definitely interesting there. In the hunt, the Bills are 5-4, the Texans, the Chargers, the Jets, the Colts, the Raiders, the Titans, the Broncos, and the Patriots. Patriots are definitely out. Broncos I can see possibly coming back, but I don't think so. Titans are done, I think. Raiders, they might come back, but I don't think so. Colts might come back, but I don't think so. Jets, I don't think so. Chargers, I don't think so. Texans, maybe, but I don't think so. I think they're a year early. And the Bills, don't know. But I think these teams right now look competitive for sure. As for the NFC, number 1 is Philly. Number 2 is Detroit. Number 3 is San Francisco, reclaiming first place in that division. Following the Seattle loss. Number 4, Saints. Number 5, Seahawks. Number 6, Cowboys. Number 7, Vikings. On the bubble, the teams on the outside looking in. Commanders, Falcons, Bucks, Packers, Rams, New York Giants, Chicago Bears, Carolina Panthers, Arizona Cardinals. So, yeah, let's look at the top 10 for the NFL draft right now while we're at it, too, because draft sweepstakes are going to start heating up, especially comes December into January and all that. So, yeah. Right now, the draft order, Arizona is picking number 1. Bears from Carolina, number 2. Bears, their own pick, number 3. Giants, number 4. Patriots, number 5. Rams, number 6. Packers, number 7. Bucks, number 8. Number 9 is Denver. Number 10 is Tennessee. So, definitely interesting for the draft order as well. So, it'll definitely be an interest, as I delete these tabs, it'll definitely be an interesting continuation to the season. That's for sure. Second half starts, for us, it officially starts Thursday night when we predict the NFL Week 10 games. I got to get ready for that episode. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have for you, though, today. One last thing before I close. I just want to say thank you guys for all the views. Those views for the Pick Game Day pregame and postgame shows against the Florida State Seminoles. I was so happy about that. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot to me. Keep the views coming. And like I always say, I've said this to my viewers time and time again, but I'm going to say now as we continue to gain viewers, please remember for these episodes to please spread the word about my channel. Tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, tell your boyfriend, tell just a random person on the street. Just keep spreading the word about this channel. It is important to me. It definitely means a lot to me. So keep spreading the word. We're getting so many views right now. I want to keep growing this channel. And while you are here, please drop a like and subscribe. So that'll definitely be nice. So keep helping us grow this channel. I greatly appreciate it. So keep the channel growing. That's all I have for you guys today. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Pray for Israel. And as always, peace. See you guys around.